In the quiet, ancient streets of Jerusalem, a man named Nehemiah stood as a beacon of fortitude and faith. His story, woven into the fabric of the Hebrew Bible, is a tale of courage, leadership, and unyielding devotion. But beneath the surface of his heroic narrative lies a complex and sometimes unsettling reality. Nehemiah, the cupbearer who would be king, is not just a historical figure. He is a mirror reflecting the often harsh and unforgiving nature of leadership. His actions, particularly toward the end of his career, reveal a man who, while revered, could also be harsh and tyrannical. This video will explore Nehemiah's journey, the challenges he faced, and the lessons his story offers, ultimately leading to a reflection on the nature of leadership and faith. Nehemiah's story begins with a plea for his people. As a cupbearer in the Persian court of King Artaxerxes, Nehemiah was well connected and respected. When he heard that the walls of Jerusalem were in ruins, he was moved to tears. His grief was not just personal. It was a profound expression of his connection to his heritage and his people. This emotional response was the catalyst for his mission. He approached the king with a request to return to Jerusalem and rebuild the city's defenses. The king, impressed by Nehemiah's sincerity, and perhaps recognizing the strategic importance of a fortified Jerusalem, granted his request. Nehemiah's return to Jerusalem was marked by immediate challenges. The city was not only in ruins, but also beset by enemies who sought to obstruct the rebuilding efforts. Sanballat, Tobiah, and Geshem were among the most vocal opponents. They used intimidation, ridicule, and even threats to try to halt the work. Nehemiah's response was a combination of strategic planning and unwavering faith. He organized the people, assigning tasks and ensuring that the work was done efficiently. He also maintained a watchful eye, ready to defend the city against any attack. His leadership was characterized by a blend of practical wisdom and spiritual conviction. He trusted in God's protection, but also took the necessary steps to ensure the safety of his people. The wall was completed in just 52 days, an extraordinary feat that demonstrated the power of unity and determination. When the work was finished, Nehemiah's enemies were intimidated, and the people of Jerusalem were filled with a renewed sense of pride and security. The completion of the wall was not just a physical achievement. It was a symbolic triumph of faith over adversity. The people recognized that their success was a result of God's favor, and this realization strengthened their resolve to remain faithful to their covenant. However, the story does not end with the completion of the wall. Nehemiah's leadership extended to addressing the social and economic issues within the city. He tackled problems such as indebtedness, ensuring that the poor were not exploited by the wealthy. He also conducted a census and appointed officials to manage the city's affairs. These actions were rooted in a deep sense of justice and a commitment to the well-being of his people. Nehemiah's approach was holistic. He understood that a strong city required not just physical fortifications, but also a just and equitable society. Despite his many achievements, Nehemiah's leadership was not without its flaws. One of the most striking moments in his story is his response to the false prophets who sought to intimidate him. When a man named Shemaiah suggested that Nehemiah take refuge in the temple to avoid an impending attack, Nehemiah refused. His reply, "Will a man like me take flight? Besides, who such as I can go into the sanctuary and live? I will not go in," reveals a deep sense of piety and self-confidence. Nehemiah recognized that entering the sanctuary as a layman would be a sacrilege, and he was willing to face danger rather than violate God's laws. This moment highlights the tension between faith and courage, between adhering to principles and taking practical action. However, Nehemiah's actions toward the end of his career raise questions about the nature of his leadership. He became increasingly harsh and authoritarian, particularly in his treatment of those who violated the laws. He flogged offenders, tore out their hair, and expelled them from the city. These actions, while rooted in a desire to uphold the covenant, were extreme and could be seen as tyrannical. The example of King Solomon, who despite his greatness was led astray by his foreign wives, serves as a warning. Nehemiah, in his zeal to prevent similar mistakes, may have overstepped the bounds of compassionate leadership. The books of Ezra and Nehemiah offer a nuanced view of leadership and faith. They show that even the most dedicated and principled leaders can be flawed. Nehemiah's story is a reminder that leadership is not just about achieving goals. It is also about how those goals are achieved and the impact of one's actions on others. The wall of Jerusalem was a symbol of God's protection, but it also required the labor and sacrifice of many. The covenant was a promise of God's presence, but it also demanded the obedience and commitment of the people. In the end, Nehemiah's legacy is a complex one. He was a leader who rebuilt a city, restored a community, and reaffirmed a covenant. But he was also a man who, in his zeal, sometimes lost sight of the compassion and mercy that are essential to true leadership. His story is a call to reflect on the balance between principle and compassion, between faith and action. As we look back on Nehemiah's journey, we are reminded that leadership is a sacred trust, one that requires both strength and humility. In the quiet, ancient streets of Jerusalem, Nehemiah's legacy lives on, a testament to the enduring power of faith and the complex nature of leadership.